I think becoming the best you can be at a particular industry niche, for me, it's paramount in being able to scale a business quickly. Because if you can answer the questions that are being asked to people that don't even know what their questions are to begin with, then you have created a name, or for lack of a better way to say it. Other people say, "Oh my gosh, you got to see what Michael's doing for us. You need to call him."
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and I have a fantastic show for you today. You're about to listen to part 2 of our interview with Michael Alliman, who is the owner of Alliman Business Group and Reconcile Bookkeeping and Business Solutions. In this episode, Michael digs deep into the power of niching when telling us about his success with the real estate agent bookkeeping niche. It's a great conversation. Let's get to it now. I did have a question, as I was going to ask earlier on, about this niche that you work with. I mean, One of the things we talked about, the niche in the United States, we call it a niche in Canada, is the power of that. And you told the story of how you found it. And it's also interesting that you're working with a younger clientele. And tell me a little bit more about, was it challenging to shift? Because I would imagine that younger clientele in the real estate, they're not doing it for a reason. And you've got to literally, I would imagine, shift their behavior, and you're trying to work with them in their world. But have there been bumps and bruises along the way in trying to bring these people over to the way that books should be done or maintained in their business?
There have been, not with everybody, but there's definitely some that just don't understand. For example, and this is going to get very specific to real estate, but my client receive a check or a ACH for a commission, and it's at the net amount of that commission. So what they don't see is their cost of sales, of which there is a tremendous amount of cost of sales. The first hurdle I realized is that it was difficult to explain why I needed to gross up their commissions and then take out the cost of sales when I come back down to the same number at their gross profit. And the reason that we do that is because to run the reports with the comparisons against other agencies or other agents or teams, to get that data to match, everything is a percentage of total income, but the total income that they're showing is really what you and I would call their gross income. And so in order to tell you what your expenses are as a percentage of your income, we have to start with total, not with the gross income, because there's a lot of cost of sales that come in between there. Now, as a real estate agent from the other side, all they know is they got a check for $10,000. So I'm $10,000 richer. And I have to go through the process of explaining, number one, that's not your money. You're the steward of it, but a lot of that's already spent. And you need to understand that even though you've got $10,000 extra dollars in your bank, you don't get to keep it. It's not yours to spend because you owe it to your whoever you're paying rent. You owe car payments. You owe salaries, things like that. So it's just to help them understand that that's an addition to the funding. It's a contribution to the amount from which they can pay their expenses. And some, frankly, still don't understand it. They just trust me, and others get it, and they're all in, and we have to actually back them off from getting, suddenly they want every single expense as a line item, and we show them that that's not going to work either. But the crowd is younger, and they are very motivated. to get the next sale, which is terrific. But most often, the first reaction I get from people when we set up their books for the same time, if they've just been using Excel or basically balancing their checkbook and giving that to their CPA, one of the first things we discover is how startled they are at how many things they're paying for that they didn't even realize they were using. Subscriptions to software that they'd forgotten about because it just gets buried in a line item somewhere. And so it's a slow process of transitioning them from, I'm not trying to make them accounting students, but I do go through a training with new clients to help them understand what I call the three main statements: the P&L, the balance sheet, and the cash flow, and have them understand to a point where they don't have to be able to regurgitate it back to me or pass a test, but they do have to have enough of an understanding to realize that if their net income is 25%, let's say, then for every dollar that they spend, new money that's not budgeted, they have to have $4 in sales just to get back to zero. And that's a hard concept for a lot of people. To help them understand that their net profit, their P&L, is nothing but a report card on the past. And it shouldn't come as a surprise. If you're keeping up with your stuff, your results shouldn't be a surprise. But it's a picture of what's already happened. And what I attempt to do over time is educate them that it's just one measurement point, and that we use it to trend your income and expenses more so than to see what the bottom line is. The bottom line is, of course, important, but I'm more concerned about the velocity of your money and the direction. So understanding your cash flow statement and realizing that you can easily spend yourself out of business, even though you seem to have a lot of cash coming in, is something that I have to educate so that I can help them build the life that they're looking for. So we call it our life by design. For some of our clients, we actually go from their personal budgets all the way through to their business and how much business do they have to do to not only pay their operating expenses and pay themselves enough to cover their bills, but also start to fund some of their dreams and expectations or dreams and desires. So if you want to save for your kids' college, how many homes do you have to close on this year to fund that part of your dreams? And so it becomes a bigger picture of their lives as opposed to just a monthly result of profit. And that's probably the biggest difficulty in trying to explain, as I'm even having difficulty just saying it out loud. I know that you know what I'm talking about, and so anybody else in your audience will, but I have to always remind myself that my clients generally know little to nothing about actual accounting and why I can't put your distributions to yourself as owner's salary on your P&L, and why that's not an expense, and just things that you and I take for granted that most people have never taken any time to think about, and they're seeing it for the first time in a P&L format and having to explain to them how that all ties together and why the balance sheet is so important, even though nobody ever looks at it.
It sounds to me you are a true gift to the real estate industry. I mean, they're in that business to live the life they want to live. And unfortunately, probably too many of them, don't actually realize that because they're not paying attention to the money and the finances. And so we talk about this often. That's what a great bookkeeper, one of the key things of a great bookkeeper is empowering business owners around their finances. And you're up to that. And I love hearing the story. And I think there's going to be a lot more wealthy real estate agents out there, because people making a lot of money, they might look wealthy, but many of them are not. And like anything, any business owner, in when you improve the actual amount that they have in their net worth, it spreads out. It's like more stuff for their kids, more stuff for their family. They can afford things. And that then it's just such a ripple effect that happens in communities, right? It's not about, the country doing really well. It's about your local neighborhood and the people you're impacting in that neighborhood being able to do more. And so, yeah, you have a big job with it. It sounds like, but that's, they're not teaching this stuff in school, and that's the thing. They come to you, and you've got to basically bring them up to speed on what likely should be done in high school or even elementary school, for goodness sakes. But we won't go too far down that. I do want to ask a couple other questions around the growth. Like you talked
Sure.
about. You talked about the niche. It sounds like you found some pockets there where the clients almost find you. Is that accurate?
That's exactly accurate. In fact, I put my website together and set up a marketing budget and have yet to spend any money on marketing. And the reason for that is because once I got established, I furtively searched across the planet for other bookkeepers that were doing the same type of thing and only found a few. And I was able to spend some time with a woman out in Colorado that does essentially the same thing. I certainly modified it for my own purposes, but fortuitously, she also was in a position where she needed to scale back a little bit. And so she referred 3 clients to me that she was going to have to disengage from. And of those 3, 2 came on and started were clients of mine. So within about 30 days from there, one of those people also made a referral to somebody else in their office. And then I got in front of some of the Keller Williams. Keller Williams has this coaching system that you can hire. As if you're an agent, you can hire a trainer, basically as your own personal trainer. And I got some recognition in that group, the MAPS coaches they call them, because they, suddenly they're these. As I told you, I got into this because I was talking to a MAPS coach, a Keller Williams coach, who was frustrated because they didn't have the format of the financials the way that they had asked them to have it. And so now they started showing up with these reports that were exactly the way that the coaches wanted to see them. And so I started getting referrals from coaches to other clients, and it just took off from there. So we actually, for the last, I'm going to say at least the last year, we have turned down more business than we have taken on. We're literally at the moment maxed out. And so my partner and I are discussing how we're going to fix that. So there's a tremendous need, even within the small community of Keller Williams. There's 100 and something thousand agents in the US and Canada. But we also have clients from other big brokerage houses like EXP, which is an online broker. Some of my clients switched from Keller Williams to EXP, and we kept them as clients, and they're referring us to some of their clients. So I think becoming the best you can be at a particular industry niche, for me, it's paramount in being able to scale a business quickly. Because if you can answer the questions that are being asked to people that don't even know what their questions are to begin with, then you have created a name, or for lack of a better way to say it. Other people say, "Oh my gosh, you got to see what Michael's doing for us. You need to call him." And it's just literally been nothing but referrals ever since. We have, of all of our clients, one found us on the website by going to our website. So
it never fails,
right.
There's what's the saying, the riches in the niches.
Yeah.
Doesn't rhyme as well with niche. But when you mentioned that number, like there's 100, Keller Williams has 107,000 or something
like that,
agents now. All of those, because I would imagine your ideal client in that niche is not everyone. It's like there's specific characteristics and whatnot. What trends have you seen? Like, what is an ideal client for you? Was that something that you had to figure out over time, or because 107,000, I don't think you can handle that many agents, as you've said, right? So
yeah,
I'm thinking some of our listeners might be thinking maybe there's an opportunity here for other bookkeepers to get involved in this, because there must be a huge let's say growing demand for it, and not enough people doing it.
There's one gentleman in Florida that's paying me to teach him what I know so that he can also do what I'm doing. And I want him to do that because I so badly need referral source, somebody I can refer clients to that I can't take on myself, but that I know would give them the same basic experience with their bookkeeper. And so, yes, there's a tremendous demand for this, and I would gladly accept other people to come into the market because there's just so much business. Like I said, we're turning away more than we're taking on over the last year, and I know two other bookkeepers that are doing what we do, directly the Keller Williams method. One of them, she's completely full, she can't take on any more business. Another one's kind of a big corporate sort, which they do a fine job, but the difference is, and this is where I guess it gets a little bit, I don't know what the word is. So I don't want to refer somebody that's just and turn them over to what I call a corporate bookkeeper, which that means that they have to change. My clients would have to change their business to meet the demands of the bookkeeper. And like I said from the beginning, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have you change the way you do business in order to work with me. From an efficiency standpoint, it would be really simple if we could just say, here's the chart of accounts, period. This is what we do. This is what you need to respond to us by this date. And if you don't, then we're sending your financials even with the errors in them. That would be great. As far as being able to make a lot of money, I would die on the vine. I don't want to do that kind of work. Part of what I have to sell is my experience. And I've always wanted to be a teacher. I mean, I've taught college level, graduate and undergraduate accounting, so I've fulfilled that dream. But I really enjoy the teaching part of it, and so I make that an emphasis. So we're very relational. I'm very available to my clients. To be able to do that, though, we had to get super efficient in the back end so that we can turn the reports around quickly, and that required automation. So yeah, so you asked if there's an ideal client. There is. It's tough to quantify, but generally, if a Keller Williams team, as opposed to a single client, and then on that team, usually some kind of a contact point, whether it's a director of operations or an office manager, somebody that we can communicate with and quickly get answers to questions that we have. That's perfect. Now, there's one or two of those in our quiver of clients that meet that completely. But that would be, the perfect situation. And we've changed our pricing methods. We now have tiered pricing. If you're a single agent and you want somebody to do your books, what we'll do is set it up, automate it, and get you reports that they're going to sit in my drive that you can access, the live reports from LiveFlow, for example. If you want us to send you monthly financial statements, there's an additional charge. I will set them up for you in QuickBooks and teach you how to run them. So if you need them for your bank or your tax accountant or whatever, you can always get the fancy PDFs, but we're not sending them to you monthly unless you're paying us for them and things like that. But then the other thing that we've just started to do within the last year is I'm doing a lot of custom built reports in Google Sheets based off of LiveFlow data that turns their financials more into a narrative than just a cold document. So I have lots of interactive reports. If you want to see how you did in September of 2020, or September of 2022 versus 2021, and then year to date 2022, 2021. I've got those all built out. So you can just, click here and it drops a menu down. You can pick the date, you can pick whatever it is you want to see. And then embedded in there are the key operating indicators that my client wants to see. And some want to see a lot of ratios, some want to see none, some just like charts. Because they're picture people, and we do all that, and we customize that for them, and that then the reporting isn't something that they do once a month. It's something that they can log into anytime and click in and click through their reports and see where they stand for the month, for the year, for the quarter, whatever it happens to be, and plus these customized reports that they can play around with that shows them where they are against the overall Keller-Williams measurements, if best practice measurements, and then also gives them the quick ratios of things that they want to see each month or each week when they log in and take a look at their reports. And that's saved us a tremendous amount of time. There's a lot of upfront time in building them, but now it's just plug and play. And so we've actually been able to provide more to our clients in less time, which gives us, obviously that's a moneymaker because that gives us some capacity, but we've also been able to charge more for new clients because we don't give them the option. This is how we present your financials to you, and as a result, we're going to do some custom work for you and have some custom reports. And if you and that's just what we offer. We don't give you the option of having us send you reports or not. We just say this is how it's going to be, and we charge more for it. And we do because then it shifts the conversation away from analyzing numbers to talking about the business, talking about their goals. Are we funding all your dreams? We have that kind of set off to the side that we refer back to. Are we funding your dreams? Are we funding that vacation that you want to take to Italy with your kids, in 3 years? Are we getting that done? So it's less about the historical data of last month and more about how are we doing tracking against your dreams and your big investment things. A lot of my clients obviously want to become real estate investors, whether it's rentals or flips, and so we track that for them. Are you at a place yet where you could make that down payment, get that moving? So it's more of a narrative life discussion than it is just about how your business performed last month, which is my preference. So
I mean, there's just so many opportunities all over the place around the niche, right? The fact that you can standardize, build all of these reports. I mean, to do that in a general firm where you're dealing with all sorts of different businesses, and the speed at which you could get to the kind of quality that you're talking about would be far much greater. And then also in this industry, in real estate, investing and flips and these different things. I mean, the knowledge that you're collecting and information that you're collecting, I mean, that's a whole other area of just complete value. And you would only get that if you're working with lots of agents that are doing those sorts of things or wanting to do those sorts of things. So
absolutely.
such a great opportunity, I think, for people that fit the bill. Like you said, it's very custom tailored approach, very relationship based. Not everybody's like that, but that's who you like. That's who you are. And if there are people out there listening right now that this sounds like an opportunity, then I would imagine they're going to want to connect with you, Michael, and get involved.
That would be fantastic. It would be fantastic. But yeah, as I said from the outset, I wanted to build a company that I wanted to work for. And this is what I'm providing what I wish people would have provided to me when I was running my own businesses. And so that's the way I approach it. Like, what would I like to see along with my reports? What other data do I need? It's really hard to get that from like you said, a generic or a general practitioner because they've got so many different things. I've learned the language of Keller Williams. I've learned the language of real estate. I have an M&A background. And so when people are looking to buy other companies, I can help them through that with that and all the other things. Plus, I am a former tax accountant, so I also think like a tax accountant, even though I'm not practicing. And so I can guide them as they're making decisions. Either this one you need to take back to your CPA and run it past him, or if you do that, this is what the tax effect is going to be. And they like that. And the other thing is, I also tell my clients, please just put me in contact with your tax accountant. Rather than you having to try to translate what they're asking you, just have them come directly to me. I speak the language. I've done what they're doing. I'm more than willing to do that for you. Plus, it's going to just save me time.
That's right. That's right. And make their lives a lot more enjoyable because they probably don't want to do any of that.
I promise you they don't want to do that.
That's right. You're setting them free to go out and do the things that they love to do and what they're really great at, and they can do a lot more of it and build a life that they love and a business they love. So,
yep.
Wow, you just absolutely love all of this, Michael. This has been a fantastic episode. Love what you're doing with Live Flow. I don't think enough people know about the power of what Live Flow can do. I mean, you've really illustrated some of the powerful things you're doing, and really good stuff for your business from a stickiness standpoint, quality of service standpoint, being able to drive results for your client standpoint. Lots of really great benefits around Live Flow. So definitely recommend our listeners check out Live Flow and the webinar that you did as well with Live Flow, and we'll have those links. And Michael, what would be the best way if people were interested and wanted to reach out to you? What would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, I always direct people to our website. It tells people a lot about us and how we got to where we are, which is the main website is allimanbusinessgroup.com. And that also has a link to the Reconcile page, which is our bookkeeping division of Alliman Business Group. So, but
Wonderful.
The website tells a lot about our principles, LES and ALS, both the principal owners as well as the principles that we follow. So
love it. Well, we will have that link in our show notes as well. Michael, awesome. This has been absolutely fantastic. On behalf of our listener, I want to thank you for your generosity in coming on the show, sharing your story, and it's been a real enjoyable one for me as well.
Great, thank you. I've enjoyed it very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Michael. Some great information. I hope you, our listener, enjoyed part 2 of this interview. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.